Here's a quick training video on seasonal data. And this is our most advanced dashboard demo in this set. We're going to get into equations, formulas, webs of cross-filtering, just making something very complicated from scratch, really more for the expert advanced user. You can make awesome dashboards in Row 64 just with the other videos with the normal process of setting up dashboards. But this one is when you really want to get in there and tune the wiring, tune the equations, tune something very custom that you're designing yourself. And so if we look at this example, what we're going to do is we're going to take a set of sales data from 2022 and from 2023, and we're going to blend them with a slider, and then we're going to cross-filter all of this together. So let's look at the data. We'll just jump in here and say, this is example data that comes with the server. Just upload seasonal as a live data frame here. And so you can see we've got our year, our 2 years here. Here's year 1, here's year 2. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about, and so we want to make a new blend column and blend these two and have that blend driven by the slider. That's going to kind of be our starting point. But there's an important principle. Like if I want to go add a formula here and blend it, right away, I don't see cross-link recipes. I only see SQL recipes here. And I can see there's not very many. And the reason is that the principle that the data frames are working by is we have this live data frame, right? This is the live data from the RamDB, from the server that we're pulling in. And everything is just kind of feeding off of it. We do our cross-link, like let's say over here for this, we're going to cross-link off the category and group sum it. And here we're going to cross-link off the quarter and group sum it and build that chart. And those will sit off the data frame. So that's kind of the normal way of working. But if we want to work in this new way where we build synthetic columns and build all this data that we've extracted basically using formulas and analysis, what we want to do is make a new subroute. So the obvious reason you want to do that is so that you can add formulas. We don't even, the way the software works, it doesn't give you the formulas on the live data frame. So I'll just select all these. I've just basically kind of made a copy, right? Like it's pulling in all the columns over here. And so now you see when I click cross-link recipes, I've got all the formulas, all the recipes, all the details that you can use to transform it. And so, but it's important, we could make a mistake here. And I'm gonna, so I've made this copy, I'm calling it subroute. So this is sort of my synthetic new base that I'm gonna build all my charts and cross-filtering off of. And the mistake you could make is if you, because this is still here. So then I could wire up, I could make some of my charts off my subroute, I could make some of them off here, and it would have this weird effect. And personally, I've made this bug, I've done this wrong before, so you have to watch out for it, where you wire some of your cross-links and charts into one route, and you wire some of them right to the live data frame. And it'll work, everything will be fine. But when you cross-filter, you'll click on this one, it'll run up, and this one won't have that synthetic column. It won't have the data, and then they won't cross-filter each other. So if you just have this sort of general rule in your mind where you build your subroute, you put your synthetic columns on it, and then all your spin-offs come off of this subroute, everything's just going to work great. Okay, so now let's start with a synthetic column. So the first thing we want to do is add this slider here, and we want to drive this slider with formulas. So mostly the sliders, when we add them, they're running off of, they just automatically filter. But here we're going to drive formulas with them. So just to start off how formulas work, if I click on the recipes and just grab anything, you can see the syntax for them. These are the column formulas. You can see I can grab output, fixed, A1, A2. So here I can just say B1, okay? And it's going to be called output. So you can see I have this here. I'm copying this one here. Here I'm going to do C1. Now it doesn't have, you know, up here it has the full column, and here you have the C1. You might wonder why that is. Well, the reason is so that you can step up and down. So you can say, okay, this one F equals B1, okay, plus B2. And so what that's going to do is sum this one and this one. So you're not stuck like in a lot of sort of data science things. You're stuck operating on the column. Here you're not. So you could do like a running average. If you look at the running average, that's how they're working. And so it's kind of neat, the power of it. So that's why you're typing B1 instead of B:B here. So next, let's hook up our slider. I'm going to call this slider. And we want to wire up, well, we don't have our dashboard yet. So let's make our dashboard real quick. New, okay, this one divides into 3. And the top part just has sort of 2 headers. This part goes in half. Then this is half and half. Okay, half here this way. And we'll pull this up and move this over. Okay, so we kind of have it. Here I'm going to go into preview mode so I can see when I type text. Here we go, seasonal sales. Oops, I spelled right. And okay, now this one, we're going to stick in our slider. So normal way of working with a slider is that you just come in and hook up a column. But we don't want to do that this time. This is an advanced analysis. We want to pull our slider into our formula. So I'm not going to type anything. I'm not going to wire it up. I'm just going to make it and select it here. So you see you can select the different panes. If I look in the Explorer view, I can see what pane I'm selecting. Okay, this one is called bottom pane 4. It's split in half there. So I'll grab that. I'll hit Control C. You don't need the Explorer view to do this. Go into our subroot, and here I'm just going to paste it right there. And okay, so now I can see. Now if I want to see the interactive effect, if I run this in the dashboard, as you, like if you hit the F4 key to go into interactive mode in the dashboard, you'll see it update live. Here you won't in the Studio product. But we can preview that. If I pull the dashboard over here, see I can slide this and hit run again. So I put it to 0, it's 0. And if I put it over here, it's 100. Okay, so now let's look at the formula we want to use here. If we go over here, the formula we want to use is this crossfade formula, right? Because we want to blend between amount this year and have this blend slider and sort of see the seasonal blend. Like perhaps there's a good mix of the two approaches over the 2 years. Or you could use this for an A/B test, like you ran one sale promo and you ran another, and then you crossfade, maybe the best result, you know, just to see which one would work the best, or something in between. Okay, so what we want to do is take A, 1 minus blend times A plus blend times B. So I'll write that down. I'll just put a comment in here. So it's 1 minus blend times A plus blend times B. And there we are. Okay, so now let's, the first thing we want to see here is, see this is between 1 and 0. And our slider is between 1 and 100. So that is obviously wrong, right? If you run this is 100, our equation is not going to work at all. So double click on here, and we're going to set the range from 0 to 1. Okay, and close that. And now when I run this, okay, I'm 0, but if I go over here and run it, I'm 1. Okay, so we're 0 to 1, and now we want to get our A and our B. So I'm going to stick this, I'm going to make a new column. So sometimes it's easier to make a few columns, like kind of test the pieces side by side, and then build your final one after that. So I'm just going to put my equation in here, which is, okay, so we have A1. We'll just start with that. Okay, A1. Okay, and I'm pulling in the date, which I don't want. I want to pull in B1. Okay, so now I have these values. And if I do C1, I have these values. Okay, so I have B1 plus C1. Okay, that's the sum of these two. And now I want to multiply B1 times the blend, okay, and C1 times the blend. Now if I run it, it doesn't work, obviously, because blend doesn't mean anything. But I can just copy the widget here where the blend is. Okay, and we run that, and now, okay, we're on value y2 here, which looks right. Okay, I'll pull that back, run that. Okay, we're in value y1. What if we go in the middle? Are we somewhere in between? And you can see we're at 0.45. We could even go in here and say, let's look exactly in the middle. Here, I'll do 0.5, hit OK, and run that. And so we're right in between these two. So we can see our formula's working. I can get rid of all my construction stuff here, delete that. And now we just have our blended slider. Okay, so now we have this principle. I hit F4 by the way to full screen this, or you can just full screen with this down here on the bottom right. Now we have this principle that we're going to use to make this. We're going to build all our other views off this crosslink. So let's make the hardest one first. Let's go in and make this piece here, this sort of live data frame of the seasonal with the conditional formatting. So we want the product and the amount, okay? And we're going to need the date. So we're going to build this pivot from scratch. So we want the product, okay? We want the amount, which is our, we called that slider. We should really call this amount, because this, and we have to spell it right, amount, run, okay. So the product, the amount, and the date, and we're going to create a new crosslink with it. Okay, so that looks good, and you can see these are group summed on the product. So I'm just going to select, I'm just going to do a group sum, and that's one of our transforms, group and sum. Okay, run. And we got it. So if we look at our input, we can see we are group summing on the product column. Okay, so that looks good. Now, what's our next step? You can see the date is a nonsense value here. It's taken the numbers for the date and it's group sum them, which doesn't mean anything. So we're going to get rid of that in a bit, but we want to keep the date for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment this out, and we're going to bring it back in a minute. Now we want to extract, we're going to build our own pivot. So let's just extract January. What are the sales for January? So we can come in here and say, okay, well, where's the formula for that? Come over here, date and time, extract month. Okay, and I'm gonna move it up because I'm gonna stick it over top. We're gonna run the group sum after we do everything else. So if we look at what it did, that month formula is just giving us the number for the month, right? December is 12, January is 1. And so that seems good, but we want to pull out an if statement around that. So if we say if, okay, if month equals A1, let's just run that. So if month equals A1, and then if it's true, okay, we're going to say equals 1 just to get started. Okay, if month A1 equals, if month equals 1. And if it's true, we're going to put 1. If it's false, we're going to put 0. Let's run that. So now we can see, okay, that's kind of interesting. If you know Excel formulas, this is a kind of a simple thing. But it's 1 when we're January. It's 0 when we're everything else, which is good. And so we're going to say, we're just going to take this and copy this down a bunch of times. How many do we have? We have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. So we have 12 of them. And we're just going to say here that instead of equaling 1, we want it to equal F1. Did you know, like, you can drag the middle down here, so you can type and just type whatever, kind of like Sublime Editor or VS Code. So now I can go in here and type F1. You can also hold the Alt key and click in different playheads and stuff like that. Have multiple carets. So I'll run that with F1. Okay. And sorry, we want to pick up the amount, so that'll be C1 here. So I'll just drag in here and we'll go get C. Okay, we'll run it. And so now when we have January here, I'll just pull this back here. Okay, so when we have January, we get the amount, and when we have anything else, we get nothing. which is exactly what we want for our pivot. So we just say, pretty simple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so we run that. And now we've got our pivot basically, because in January we get the data. In February, you see what I mean? For each month, the sales in each month will add up just in that column. And now when we group sum it, it'll work perfectly. So we just have to come in here. Okay, I'm going to drag this out and just type January. Okay, and January, February, March. Okay, April, May. Almost got it. June, July, August, September, October, okay, November and December. Okay, so now we've built all our columns here, and we can see in January we only have the January data, February, March, it all looks good. Okay, so now we'll release our group sum, and we'll run it, and so look how we've pulled all that in. So we've basically built our own pivot. Now the only thing is we can see these ones, it automatically figures out the column type, but some of them it's pulling it in as int, and we want them all to be big float. So I'm just going to go, and you can force the type. This is a little more advanced than Excel, the type forcing, but I can just put big float here, and then when I run it, I force the column type to be big float for all the outputs. So that's going to be better for our conditional formatting. So you have a lot of control here in add column. Okay, so finally, we want to add conditional formatting here, and we want to get rid of this date column. Now, we need the date column to extract the month. So we can't delete it. So the way you get rid of it is you just select everything but the date column and create a new crosslink. And so now I've got this, I've got my pivot, basically my pivot. We've got exactly that piece. Only thing we want to do is add conditional formatting. Now, did you guys know if you hit on the C on the letter, you get this sort of filter thing. But if you right click on here, you get all these options. So we go to format column, and we know the max here. So we're just going to say equals C1 divided by 80,000, and that'll give me a nice format code. And so this one's D1. Okay, format column E1. I'm just using copy and paste here. Format column EF. Format column G. We will probably come up with a faster way to do this at some point, but we've just been focusing on the performance and main features at the moment here. Almost done. I, format column J. Okay, you can forward if you want here. I just have 4 more. Okay. Most people these days have ADD, so I'm sure many will forward. M. Okay, including myself. Here we go, format column N. Okay, so we've got that, and now let's drag it into our dashboard. Oh, let's name it actually. So let's rename it to seasonal. Okay, and drag it into our dashboard. Okay, and let's publish it just to show you how it's all working. Okay, here it is. And so we can see as you move the dashboard around, the color coding updates, the values update, the whole thing is working. I would pull this out a little bit. So you can modify the column. Sorry, I'll go over here. Like give it some more space for this. And then if we look in our dashboard, we've made more that extra space, and probably I would make this one a little smaller. Okay. Okay, that looks better. Okay, so I'll close this and we'll keep making our dashboard. So the final pieces are not too hard. We're going to come in here and we're going to make a chart of the sales off of the blend. Okay, so let's go now. Here's our important principle. Make it off the crosslink. Because if you're moving fast and you were thinking, you might make it off the live data frame, and you don't want to do that. So click on the subroot, and we're going to connect. Okay, let's look at our chart here. This chart is the date by the amount. Okay, so we're going to pick the date, and we pick in our synthetic column. We're going to group sum it by the date. So because look, we've got a lot of sales on the same date, but we're group summing on the wrong column here. So we want to go group sum off the date column. Okay, so there we are. And then we're going to build our chart and just say chart line create. Okay, there we are. We'll drag it into the dashboard. Looks good. I'll control click here, and then we can come in, and I'm going to turn off the legend here, and I'm going to fix up the dates here because we really only just want to see the month, right? I'm going to drag this down a bit. So to just see the month, we just go look at the x-axis. If you look at the formatting, see it's month, month, day, day, year, year. Just get rid of that and keep the month. And then because it's like a little, you know, it's seasonal. We're just looking at the monthly stuff. We can do it that way. Okay, that looks pretty good. And oh, in this one we've got the day, so we can change it to that. Why not? So we can just take. I think you just say month, month, month. Is that right? Yes. Okay, so that gives us the text for the month. Click on our dashboard, hit F4, and if we publish that again, let's publish it. Publish. You can see as we're adjusting our slider that it's updating off the blend, which is awesome. So it's all working perfectly. We just want to change at our last two charts here. Oh, and the reason everything's working great is that we follow this principle of the subroot. Okay, so now let's build this one here. This one is going to be amount by category. So again, go to our subroot, and we're going to get the amount by the category. We're going to create a crosslink, a spin-off sheet, and group sum. And then we're going to make a bar chart. Looks good. Drag it in. Okay, and control click on it. We're going to change some settings. Mostly we're just going to rotate the label. Okay, and I'm going to just make a little more space for it there. Looks good. And finally, we're going to make this one, which is quarter, again by the blended amount. So go to the subroot, get the quarter, and so now we're going to want to extract the quarter here. So we're going to want to add a new column, and so we're going to come in and look at our recipes, date and time, and extract quarter, just simple quarter extraction. Stuck it in here. I'm going to put it over top so the quarter comes in first. Actually, no, I'm gonna put it after because I'm wiring to it. X here. I'm gonna put it here. Run. Okay, and I want to put the letter Q in front of it, just as a Q there. So I'm gonna put quote Q. If you're familiar with Excel formulas, you put an ampersand to concatenate text, and then we've got our quarter, which looks good. Now we're gonna connect our amount and our quarter. We're going to cross-link them, make a spin-off sheet, and group sum. Now make sure we're group summing on the right column. Look at our inputs. Whenever you do a group sum or group average, I always recommend clicking on input, making sure you're pulling in the right column. It is something that you could get confused on. Okay, so then select these two, create our bar chart, drag it into the dashboard. Okay, looks good. Okay, so finally, we just have two formulas, which is total sales. Okay, we'll click on this. Total sales. total sales. And this is going to equal the sum. Now, again, I know I keep repeating myself, but don't click on the live data frame and sum off the amount. Click on the subroot and sum off our synthetic column. Work off the subroot. Okay, and then here we're going to have our average sales. Okay, average sales is going to equal average. Same thing, subroot here, and our synthetic column, and I'm going to grab that off. Okay, so let's publish our dashboard and take a look. So you can see it's pretty cool how beautifully the cross filtering works, and it works across the blend too. I can be halfway through and I can filter out the quarter. They're all affecting each other. They're all live and working perfectly in terms of cross-filtering, formulas, sliders, everything driving each other in an interactive web. I hope you found this training helpful.